You know, I think this is something of a reality check. What are we doing? What are audiophiles doing? Are we kidding ourselves every time we buy a new piece of gear that we're going to get closer to hearing a believable sound coming out of our system? Is that really what this is? That's what we're chasing every time we get something new or buy a new recording or remastering or room treatments or DSP or whatever it is. We're trying to get that trueness, that believable sound in our listening space. And I got to tell you something. We're not doing it. We are failing miserably. Yes, that's me, the audiophiliac, Steve Guttenberg, the audiophiliac, laying some reality on you. Now this bell, I use this as a reality check sometimes, because when I hear a great system, I ring this bell and I say, this is what real sound, music sounds like. And if I could play guitar or piano or a trumpet or something, I would do that, but I can't. So I use the bell. To bring it back to real, this bell sounds so much better than any hi-fi I've ever had in this room. Today, I just want to clear the air. I don't believe that recorded music, the quality of recorded music, has really advanced since the 1950s or maybe the 60s. If you play a great recording from that time period, like Harry Belafonte at Carnegie Hall, the Weavers at Carnegie Hall, or a lot of Miles Davis records or Louis Armstrong records, these are ancient recordings at this point, and they have a more believable sound than many contemporary recordings because they're less messed with and stuff. But that's not really the point of today's show. So whether it's LPs or CDs or reel-to-reel tapes or even Dolby Atmos doesn't really break through that reality barrier to say, yes, we are getting closer to hearing the real thing. Because you can fool yourself into it. Oh, we do it all the time. But then if you have some sort of reality check, if you have a friend that, or you can play guitar or some instrument, and you just listen to that and say, no, we're not there. We're so far from there in terms of a believable sound. And I've talked about this before, but this is more of an emotional plea that I'm making to you guys, is to recalibrate your expectations of what is actually going down. Because that fantasy that we're getting to the real thing is just BS. It's just not true. I wish it was. And I see nothing, unfortunately, that's going to get us a giant step closer. Now the thing is, as I've said before, when you change your speaker type, if you have a box speaker and you get a panel speaker or a horn speaker or an omnidirectional speaker, it will radically change the way the sound fills your room. And you can get off on that. You can say, yes, this is it. It's different. We get into the different thing relatively easy. You go from analog to digital, I mean playing LPs versus streaming or downloads or something. Yeah, those sound pretty different. But are they actually as good? You know, I just have to stop here for a second and point out that non-audiophiles, the civilians, so to speak, the other 99%, they don't give a crap about any of this stuff, right? They just enjoy the music in whatever way they are enjoying the music, over their Bose speakers or Sonos or whatever it is, it's good. They're perfectly happy. They just take it as it comes. But it's really interesting that musicians who really do know what the sound of live music is, they tend not to be audiophiles, right? When they listen to recorded music, they're just listening to the music, they're listening to how well it's being played, you know, the interactions between the musicians. They care about that stuff. But the reproduction of the sound is not generally on the radar for musicians, most of them. Now, I do have a couple of musician friends who do care about it, but their approach to listening to hi-fi is different. They don't have the expectation that it's going to sound real, which is kind of like what prompted me shooting this video today, is I'm talking to a friend of mine, Billy, who's a drummer, and he doesn't rate hi-fis that way of like how close they get to the sound of the real thing, because none of them do. None of them can really do that. Just the sound of a symbol, a real symbol, as opposed to a recording of a symbol. There's so much going on in there. It is such a complex envelope of sound coming off of just a symbol or a trumpet. Like last summer, I was walking in a park and I heard somebody playing a trumpet, just out there by themselves, nobody else, just playing a trumpet. I'm standing there in awe of what that sounds like. An unamplified, boy, trumpets are loud. They don't need to be amplified, but the beauty of that sound, the complexity of that sound. I've talked about recently my brief stint as the world's worst piano tuner in the 80s. And yeah, when I was inside pianos and I knew what pianos sounded like, yeah, no, sorry, no recording ever made sounds like a real piano. But here's the thing. I'm working on this review. Oh, by the way, yes, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. There will be an audiophiliac viewer system of the day later on in the show. But here's the thing. I'm working on this review of the Deckware Sarah 300B tube amplifier. Phenomenal amplifier. And I'm playing a Beatles song, and I wish I could remember which one. But anyway, it was one where George Harrison was singing the lead. And I'm thinking, and this is with the Pure Audio Project Duet 15 speakers, and I'm thinking, you know, I'm feeling like I've never heard George Harrison's voice sound like that before, that it sounds more complete, more human, more really, really there. Like I now know, I felt like, I now know what George Harrison's voice really sounded like. I've never met him, I've never been in a room with him, but I felt some barrier was crossed briefly, and it's so frustrating, I can't tell you which song it is. But anyway, that happened. So glimpses of this feeling that you're getting closer to the sound, the true sound of the instruments or the singers, that happens, but it doesn't last. You know, it's not like I could repeat that and play another Beatles record and hear Paul's voice or John's voice or Ringo's voice. No, it's just, you want to hold on to it, but you can't. So I know that I've had that, and you've probably had those experiences. But the reality is the recordings themselves are so flawed. Now remember, we talked about this before, recording engineers' primary goal isn't to make recordings that sound exactly like the instruments or the singers at the session. That's not what they're shooting for. They're shooting for a sound that the band and the label and the producer agree, this is a good sound for this session, for this music, right? Which is cool. That's the way it should be. But in terms of making recordings that sound really like the real thing, well, that's more of an audiophile label thing like Chesky or Todd Garfinkel's company, MA Recording. They're trying to make records that sound exactly like the real thing. But they don't really achieve that goal. But that's what they're shooting for. And they're still so far from it. Yeah, not even Dolby Atmos can get us over that hump to reality. Just because sound is coming from up there doesn't seem to make it sound more real. Or even complete, like being in an acoustic space. I haven't experienced that with an Atmos recording. It's a cool effect, but it doesn't change that reality thing that we're looking for. It's just not happening. It doesn't work that way. My message for today's show is that you have to stop, take a breath, and realize that you're on this treadmill. You're chasing dissatisfaction. Because when you buy that new thing, speaker, amp, cable, DAC, turntable, cartridge, whatever, and then it fails to get you closer to that sound of reality. If that's what you're searching for, that's what I'm chasing and never getting. But if you're chasing that and you're never going to get there, maybe you have to stop and realize that that approach doesn't actually work. I mean, this is the problem that I face as a reviewer, saying that something is the best or even better than, that X is better than Y. Different, yeah. Oh, they're different. It's like solid state amplifiers and tube amplifiers, they sound different. Which one is better? It's personal taste. It's just what you're chasing at that particular moment in your journey makes it, in that sense, better if it fulfills that desire. And that's what we have to come to terms with, right? What sound are we searching for? And when we get there, is that it? Are we good? You know, or do we have to find some other tweak to that sound, or make that sound, or amplify that sound to make it even more so, right? Yeah, it's complicated. This audiophile pursuit, and the whole reason I'm making this video today is the pursuit is a false one. We're kidding ourselves that we're getting closer when we're just getting different. That's mostly what we get. Here's another thing I'd like you to consider is try to get to a live unamplified concert, whether it's classical music or folk music or jazz or something in your town or city. If you could get to hear that, or just friends playing and singing along, that would be even better. If you can sort of recalibrate your ears as to what the real thing is, it's fantastic. My friends Jean and Beth did an unamplified concert in a restaurant a few weeks ago, and I was there sitting right up close to them, maybe 10 feet away, and I had the best time. I know Jean over 40 years, and I know Beth a long time, and it was so much fun. It's interesting what that sounds like versus what a recording of it sounds like, because a recording of it kind of, even if you don't compress it or process it, kind of makes it a lot smaller than it really is. The way Gene sings and puts himself into the song, and same for Beth, and their instruments sounded so beautiful, so gorgeous from 10 feet away. Nothing. No hi-fi can do that. Not even close. It's like my bell. Even the little bell. You can't get that to come out of a speaker and sound like this bell. No, it doesn't happen. So we have to sort of step back and recalibrate how we pursue this journey and what we're looking for when we buy another speaker or whatever, right? What is it really going to give us? So I'd like you to think about all of that and give me some feedback in the comments below this video. And now, it is that very, very special time for the Audiophiliac viewer system of the day. This is John's system. Now the centerpiece are these early 1990 clipsless Scalas with Kreitz upgraded crossovers and tweeters. He's owned those since the year 2000. Power amps are Quicksilver horn monos. Those are 25-watt tube amplifiers with Pisvane KT88 Treasure tubes. Speaking of tubes, there's a Bottlehead 4-play preamp, a Riga Planar 3 turntable with an Ortophon Blue cartridge. Phono preamp is a Vincent PHO 701. Streaming is handled by a Blue Sound streamer, and there's an SACD player in there as well, a Sony SCD CE595, and handling the bottom end is a Klipsch SW12II sub. Thanks, John. All right, we are back. My name is Steve Guttenberg, and I am the Audiophiliac. If you like what I'm doing here on the channel with these kind of think pieces and reviews and Audiophiliac viewer systems, please consider joining my Patreon and help support this channel. The address is on the screen right now. Payment is accepted in dollars, pounds, euros, and even other currencies. So anyway, there's that. If you like a particular video, maybe like this one, hit that like button. It really helps. And of course, if you have yet to subscribe to the channel, plenty of room here, please hit that subscribe button. And when you do, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every freaking time there is a new episode. And with that, I can say my work here is at last complete. Thank you so much for watching. And I really, really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.